Chapter 1. The Knock at Midnight. It was a quiet night in the hills of New Haven. The rain came in steady waves, tapping softly against the rusted tin roof of Elias Thatcher's cabin. He had lived alone for 13 years, ever since the world ended in flames and ash. The reclaiming, they called it. Elias didn't believe in salvation or society anymore. The world had tried to fix itself through war, cleansing, and authoritarian peace, but it only birthed more monsters.
So he hid.
He chopped wood, grew food, and trusted no one. But on that stormy night, a knock came at his door. 3 soft raps. Hesitant. Almost apologetic. He reached for the shotgun above the fireplace, stepping carefully. No one visited. Not since the border patrols collapsed. When he opened the door, he saw her. A young woman, soaked through to the bone. Her hair clung to her face. She looked half-starved. Her eyes, though, those deep gray eyes, were calm. "I can cook. I can clean. I can be quiet," she whispered. He should have turned her away. He didn't trust people. But something in her tone, submissive, yet unbroken, made him pause. He let her in. Chapter 2. The girl called Laura. She said her name was Laura. She didn't speak much the first few days. She swept the floors, cooked meals from the scraps he had, and repaired the broken hinge on the back door. She never asked questions, never pushed for conversation. Elias watched her with quiet suspicion. She didn't act like other survivors. No trembling fear. No begging. No schemes. Just quiet diligence. But there was something in her presence, something old and powerful, like still water hiding depth. One evening, over roasted roots and canned broth, he finally asked, "Where did you come from?" She looked at him for a long moment. "I was owned," she said simply. "I escaped." His grip tightened on the spoon. He knew what that meant. The outposts traded in flesh now. Especially women. "I don't want to be a burden," she added. "If you tell me to leave, I'll go." He stared at her a moment longer. "Finish your soup," he said. Chapter 3. The Unspoken Shift. Over the weeks, the rhythm of the cabin changed. Elias began to depend on her quiet presence. Laura repaired tools, reinforced the water tank, and even rerouted the solar wiring. She was no ordinary refugee. She had skills. Knowledge. One night, he found her in the storage cellar, mapping out old power grid routes on the dirt floor with a stick. "What are you doing?" he asked. "If we get the converter running," she said, "we can reroute current and get hot water. Maybe even power the radio." He blinked. "You used to be an engineer?" She looked up. "I used to be a lot of things." He didn't ask further. But something shifted that day. The silence between them wasn't just survival anymore. It was trust. Chapter 4. The Radio. By the 4th month, they had hot water. And the radio worked. It was barely more than static, but sometimes a whisper of a broadcast came through. Sector 3. Survivors near Aurora. Signal strength low. Laura leaned close to the receiver, eyes narrowed in concentration. "We're not alone," she said. Elias shook his head. "That's not always a good thing." But she looked at him differently now, like a woman who had tasted ashes and still believed in fire. "I'm not asking to leave," she said. "But if there are survivors, decent ones, we owe them a voice." He scoffed. "We owe nothing." "You owe yourself," she said softly. "You didn't build this life just to die with it." He didn't respond. But the next day, he helped her repair the transmitter. Chapter 5. The Visitors. 6 months later, the first group arrived. A family, 3 children, and their father, starved and sick. They came because of the broadcast Laura had managed to amplify. Elias wanted to turn them away. But she stepped forward, calm and certain. "I'll handle them," she said. And she did. She organized space, rationed food, treated wounds. The children clung to her like a mother. The man cried when Elias handed him bread. Soon others came. Elias's cabin became a haven. It wasn't what he had wanted, but it was what she made. Chapter 6. The Whisper Again. One night, after a storm, Elias sat beside the fire, watching her tend to a young girl with fever.
He realized something.
This was no accident. You said you could cook.
Clean.
Be quiet, he murmured. She glanced up, smiling. I said what I had to, she replied.
To survive.
To be let in. You planned this, he said, not accusing but astonished. I planted seeds, she admitted. I knew if I showed my strength, you'd turn me away. He stared into the fire. And now we're strong together. Chapter 7. The Fight for the Future. Word of their safe haven spread. And with word came danger. One morning, scouts spotted a group of raiders moving toward them. Armed, fast, and brutal. Elias went for his shotgun. But Laura stopped him. We won't survive a firefight. Then what? He growled. She reached for the map she had drawn on the cellar floor months ago. We trapped them, she said. We know the land. We know their path. We funnel them. That night, the old forest trail lit up with handmade fire traps and steel spikes hidden beneath debris. They didn't need a war. They needed a plan. And Laura had it. Chapter 8. The Rise of the Silent Flame. The raiders never stood a chance. By dawn, the few who survived were bound and stripped of weapons. The rest fled or fell. The settlement didn't just survive. It grew. Within a year, 50 people lived where once only Elias had dwelled. They called it Hollowlight, a name born of the lanterns Laura had crafted, soft glow in the darkness. She never claimed leadership, but when choices were hard, they looked to her. And Elias? He stood by her side. Epilogue. The woman who changed everything. Years later, when Hollowlight had become a true beacon in the wastes, a girl asked Laura why she had come there, what had brought her to that lonely cabin. Laura smiled and said, I told him I could cook. I could clean. I could be quiet. The girl giggled. But that's not who you are. No, Laura said softly. But sometimes, to rebuild the world, you whisper like wind, then strike like a storm. And she looked toward the hill, where Elias stood, watching over the town they'd built from silence, scars, and the softest promise ever made.